Hi sweet moms and dads, it's Didi here, and in today's video I'm gonna talk to you about co-sleeping. The idea came in an email from a first-time mom, Romina, who after watching my video about the morning routine where I mentioned I've been sleeping with Mika, sent me an email with suggestion to talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of co-sleeping. And ever since this video I've got so many questions in my Facebook, on my YouTube about co-sleeping. So I decided to make a video about co-sleeping. I did an extensive research for you guys, and in today's video I'm gonna talk to you about what the experts think about co-sleeping, what are potential benefits and drawbacks, what is the cultural norms and practices around the world, what is my own experience, and how you can practice it safely. Governmental bodies in the Western countries, including UK, USA, Canada, are against co-sleeping. They have huge campaigns where they say that co-sleeping can be dangerous, and in fact, co-sleeping can be dangerous. The reason for that is based on a research that associates higher instances of SIDS, which is a sudden infant death syndrome, when co-sleeping has been practiced versus when the kids were sleeping separately. That's why they say it is harmful for the babies, it potentially can be very dangerous. You are not supposed to sleep and share your bed with your kids. They do not say that co-sleeping is bad because of potential emotional trauma or because of development of dependency in the kids. It is purely based on safety. According to other experts though, the studies that relate higher instances of SIDS in relation to co-sleeping are not done properly because they did not take into account very important data. Alcohol consumptions, drug consumptions, and whether the parents are smokers. These are all risk factors for SIDS. They say, yes, of course, co-sleeping can be harmful, but if it's practiced safely, it can actually have benefits for the kids. Dr. James McKenna, who is a professor of anthropology and the director of the Mother-Baby Behavior Sleep Laboratory in the University of Notre Dame, is a world-renowned expert of infant sleep, particularly the practice of bed sharing in relation to breastfeeding. So according to him, the solitary sleep represents neurobiological crisis for the little human babies. Human babies are least developed than all other primates, as we know, and they're much more vulnerable and dependent on human contact. Now it's known that higher risk for SIDS are the lack of breastfeeding and sleeping alone in a different room. He also studied the practices around the world. For example, in Southern Europe, in Asia, in Africa, it is common practice in South America as well. It is very common practice for babies to co-sleep with their parents. In Japan, they often stay in the bed with their parents or grandparents until they're teenagers. Hong Kong, when the current practice is to co-sleep with the kids, SIDS, it is very unknown, so it's practically down to zero. And in Japan, according to SIDS family organizations, the rates of SIDS occurrences are going down because of the decreasing rates of smokers within the parents and also the increase of the instances of breastfeeding. Another fan of the co-sleeping is the famous Dr. Sears, who openly talks about the benefits of co-sleeping in his books and on his website. He did his own research, and according to him, the breathing of the mom and the baby gets regulated during shared sleeping, and that can remind the baby to breathe. He also did research with monkeys, and he proved that the separation, short-term separation of little monkeys from their moms increased their heart rate, has impact on their digestion, in their immune system and temperature. And what about human babies that are least developed than the monkeys as well? So as you can see, sweet moms and dad, there is no one opinion within the pediatricians and the experts whether shared sleeping or co-sleeping is good or bad. If you practice co-sleeping, of course you need to do it in a very responsible way. So safety is a priority, and I'm going to talk about safety, and you can see as well links to some of my research and to safety guidance below in the comment box. Some of the benefits for co-sleeping are: it encourages breastfeeding, which, as we know, it's beneficial for both moms and babies. Babies fall asleep easily and stay asleep easily. When they wake up, it's much more quicker for them to go back to sleep. The sleep of the baby and the mom gets synchronized. The baby is reminded to breathe, It increases the sense of intimacy between parents and baby, especially nowadays when most parents work throughout the day and they don't spend enough time with their babies. It helps the release of relaxing hormones that can help moms when they're nursing throughout the night to relax a bit more after a busy working day. It helps the release of prolactin. Babies cry less during the night, and this is according to research that says that babies who sleep in separate rooms on average cry longer than babies who sleep in the bed with their parents. It helps baby to thrive. That's according to the long 3 decades practice of Dr. Sears, who says that babies who co-sleep with their parents are developing better emotionally, psychologically, and physiologically as well. And according to him, that could be the extra touch that these babies have with their parents. It helps parents to sleep better. Some parents report that they feel much more calmer when they have their babies next to them instead of getting up and going to the next room every time. According to studies, kids who are co-sleeping with their parents become less fearful and more independent because they feel much more secure. And here are some drawbacks in relation to co-sleeping. Some parents say it's very hard for them to sleep with their kids because they're waking up all the time and they find it very hard for them to fall asleep again. Other parents complain that there is no time for the couple because, of course, you share your bed with a little creature. The third one is that you may find it hard to transition your baby or your toddler to their separate bed after that. And the seats instances are not yet that well studied, so potentially it can be a reason for increased occurrence of seats. So what's the reality? The reality is that in the US and in the UK, a lot of parents co-sleep with their children, although they don't talk openly about that. Usually in the typical American home, there will be a crib, which is in a separate room for the baby. However, when parents are asked specifically by researchers where do they sleep and who sleeps where, it turns out that often the babies end up being into the bed of their parents. This is especially the case, of course, for moms who are breastfeeding, because it makes their life much more easier. Co-sleeping should not be stigmatized. According to some experts like McKenna, for example, he says that the governmental recommendations, especially when they're so strong, don't do any co-sleeping because it's dangerous, it's harmful, is not an ethical recommendation because it does not give a chance for the parents to take informative decisions. Of course, co-sleeping needs to be practiced very responsibly. If you decide to practice co-sleeping, you have to make sure that the safety is your priority. The mattress should be firm. If you're a smoker, you cannot practice co-sleeping. You should put the baby in a different room. You should avoid using pillows. The sheets need to be fitted sheets because the baby can get cramped under the sheet. You should not use a very thick duvets or blankets as well. In fact, the best thing is to have your baby in a separate crib or cot, at least for the first 3-4 months, in arm's length. So you can have a cot, for example, with the rail down, or little crib which is next to the mom. Another thing is no other kids, no pets in the bed. If you practice co-sleeping and the whole family is in the bed, meaning your husband as well, you should not put your baby in the middle because your husband will not have the instincts of a breastfeeding mom. So the baby needs to be on one side, then the mom, and then the dad. You should not practice co-sleeping on sofa beds. It is very dangerous because the sofas are very soft. You should be careful not to fall asleep on reclining chairs. There should not be any loose holes between the headboards. So, you have to organize your environment in a way that you can make sure that safety is your priority. Now on to my own experience. We did not know that we're going to choose co-sleeping. I knew from the very first beginning that for the first year at least, we want Mika to be in our room, and we of course purchased a nice cot for him. And for the first 3 months, I had this cot next to my bed with the rail down. So he was sleeping in his own bed. However, he was next to me. And my idea was that for the first year, when I wanted to breastfeed, that was my priority number one, that he will be in our room. And then after a year, we'll move him to his own room. It did not happen. He slept in this cot next to me probably at about 3-4 months. Then we gradually started taking him to bed because it was so much more easier for me while I was breastfeeding. And then we moved to a bigger flat. That was one of the reasons we wanted him to have his own room. And we tried, he was about 10 months old, we tried a couple of times to put him into his own caught, and it did not work out at all. He would cry like crazy. I am against crying. At that time I thought that I may research about sleep training, something which I considered at a certain stage, and I just find out it's not for me. Sleep training for me meant that maybe I'll teach him how to sleep, but he'll release lots of hormones related to stress, cortisol for example, and I did not want that at this stage of his life. And then one day I just sat down and I asked myself, what's my worry about him sleeping with us? Is it the stigma because people are laughing at us? Is it just because, I find it harder for us to sleep with him in the bed? And when I went through this sort of internal audit, I realized that I actually really enjoy having Mika in the bed. It's one of the best things ever to wake up next to his face. Second, it's not gonna be forever. They're growing so fast, it's crazy. And the third thing that really put sort of lots of, made me take this decision was that I remember when I was little, I was so afraid of sleeping by myself, and it never occurred in my mind that it's possible to go and sleep with my parents. So in a way, they taught us that this is no, you cannot do that. So I remember sometimes I would just cover under my blanket and I would just have a small hole so I can breathe. I was afraid of the dark, I was afraid of different monsters coming to my room, or sometimes I would just go, I was room sharing with my sister, and put some chairs next to her bed so I can put my arm at least, or my hand on her bed. So I just said, I remember that 30 years later. I don't want him to go through that. For us, it was a very natural decision. We want him in our bed. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel silly. I don't feel I have to explain it to anyone. In fact, I feel that it should not be stigmatized at all. And lots of parents are doing it anyway. So for us, it's working. If you're about to take a decision for yourself, take a decision based on what works for you. I really loved what Dr. Sears says. When parents ask him, where should my baby sleep? Dr. Sears answers, wherever you and your baby get the best night's sleep. So it's individual. If you choose to do co-sleeping, don't feel guilty. Lots of people are doing it. Make sure you do it in a very safety way. If you choose not to do co-sleeping, don't feel guilty that, maybe there are benefits that my child is missing out of, because you're giving enough love and enough intimacy during the day, or in the hours before you put your child to sleep. So either way, don't judge anybody who is doing something different. Choose whatever works for you. Make sure you discuss that with your husband and partner, because they need to have the same mindset and they need to take the same decision. And know that if you choose co-sleeping, there will be times when you would really want to sort of put your baby in a different room. You'll be like, I had enough, I really need a proper sleep now. But then you cannot do it. So it comes with lots of pros, but with lots of cons as well. So take your decision based on your individual case. On to you now. I would love if you can share your own experience with co-sleeping below in the comment box. Do you practice co-sleeping or you don't? Why and why not? What is it that you like about it? What is it that you hate about it? Thank you so much for sharing your comments below. I'm really interested to see what other parents are doing. That's it from me, sweet moms and dads. I really hope that this video was interesting for you and it helped you in a way. And if so, please give me a thumb up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for my channel, because I have a weekly Tuesday show with lots of goodies. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great sleep.